I am going to press the button as soon as the software allows us to. Taking its time.
Rock on.
All right, and we are live.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Good afternoon, evening, and morning, wherever you may be in the world. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, so this is Zach. This is John and Sheena from the Atlas Agency Launch Lab, live once again to talk to you about compliance.
Yes, we are. I feel like we need like some, high power, like some of these events I used to go to for sales presentations and things. I mean, they had a big DJ thing and live music and everybody dancing. And I feel like we need that for compliance here, but sorry, it's not in the budget, y'all. So
yeah, and we need intro music.
Yes, he said y'all and used it in a sentence. I'm from the South. That's what I do. That and amuse Sheena, apparently.
Well, I like it. I like to laugh. It's been a long day today.
I haven't said y'all hardly any around you, I don't think. Really.
No, and it's something I would have picked up on because I'm from New Zealand and I think it is one of the oddest, well, not one of the oddest, but
it's so useful. It's like the word dude. It says it all. It has 1,000,001 uses. And if you have more than one person, and you're talking about y'all, you just say all y'all. So it's all good.
Oh my goodness. So we just say mate, or, hi mate, and it works.
Right. Oh, that'll work too. Absolutely. Okay. Well, they probably won't like me after parts of this anyway. So I'm buttering you all up now. Okay. But are we ready to talk about compliance with everybody?
Yes, although I think that part of this show should be talking about the fact that y'all is not compliant.
Not with Grammarly anyway. Grammarly doesn't like it. And yes, we all use Grammarly. Our secret is out. Okay. I wanted to start on something though, kind of before we get into this. And I realize I am thankfully preaching to the choir on most of this. So please understand that I know that before I say anything that I'm going to say.
Yep.
But this particular session is a lot about not only about complying with laws, state, federal in the United States, and GDPR everywhere else, but it's just about doing the right thing as marketers. I don't know about you all or y'all, but there have been many times that I'm doing presentations to clients and you hear the horror stories about marketers and what they do and what they don't do and what they don't pay attention to that they should. Mm-hmm. So I'm not suggesting for a moment that anyone watching is any of those people, but if you somehow are, or you you decide to, after seeing all these different regulations and things, and you still bust through them and start trying to do your own thing to cut corners to somehow get an edge, it will end up biting you. Please don't do it. You're ruining it for the rest of us. And if you know anybody who's doing that, talk to them about doing the right thing too. There is such a thing as take a little extra time and have some integrity in marketing for what you do. And I promise it will pay off every single time for you. At the very least, you can listen and nod your head to the stories that your clients or your prospects are going to have. And you get to say, you know what, I don't do those things. And I don't appreciate people who do them either. And maybe that will win you a sale or two. Because like them, you're trying to comply with whatever rules and laws and regulations are out there. And you're trying to keep them out of trouble from, by complying with some of those. And so they don't get shut down. And so you're just another reason that you get to say, hey, I'm in your corner. We're doing this together. We're not always going to get it right, but we're going to get through it. And you're going to come out ahead and you're going to reach your customers so much better, Mr. Client or Miss Client. And it's going to make a world of difference. Just, again, I realize I'm preaching to the choir, so to speak, in that you all don't do these things, but if you know anybody who does, help us, practice integrity in the marketing space and really defy what some people's expectations are of digital marketers and be better than that. So that's my soapbox for the day. I'm done.
there is unfortunately a very prevalent culture that marketers are unscrupulous. And if you can position your agency as one that's compliant and uses integrity, you're going to set yourself apart. And what John was just saying about you're going to have to use this with your clients, 100%. I was talking to a hairdresser. We were going to run message marketing for him. And I said, well, I actually need to know how many of these people you're providing me with have opted in for this marketing text. And they're like, oh, well, I don't know. I just click the box that they have. I don't even ask them. And I'm like, well, if you haven't asked them, I can't run this campaign for you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, nobody's ever going to know. Nobody's going to care. And I'm like, well, you know what? Lots of marketers out there may do that for you, but we pride ourselves on being compliant. We pride ourselves on integrity. And we pride ourselves on the fact that when we represent your business, we are representing who you guys are as an honest hairdresser.
That's
and
right.
I won't do it. And so, yeah, you 100% have to be able to hold your ground and teach your clients about this as well.
Mm-hmm. And as we'll see in a little bit, technology is both helping you and trying to keep you honest in doing that. When you start talking about for text messages, you mentioned the opt-in, opportunities for them, that they have to be there. If they say I want out, I don't want to receive any messages, you need to honor that. If they and the technology is very much in place to make that happen. Very, very, as easily as it can be. And they will also, as you will see a little bit later, on like the text messages in particular, they'll penalize you if you just come up with an address out of the blue. So the phone number just without any sort of invite whatsoever. They will ultimately get to the point, the system will, that it will begin to penalize you for this.
Yep.
So and versus taking a little extra time, and that's kind of for want of a better word, the game now is how can you legitimately get somebody's email address and their consent to send it the right way. I mean, but how can you cleverly do that? There are some companies out there that the way that they ask for that is really cool. It's an example or a chance for you to show your creativity and maybe win a little grace from somebody. Okay, I know you're going to fill up my inbox anyway, but maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing just because of the way you presented this.
Absolutely.
or my phone or something like that. So I mean, it's worth taking a little extra time and maybe adding a little creativity to do it right, and it'll win you more friends than it will enemies.
Yeah. So compliance is not something that is spoken about very frequently by anybody who teaches marketing courses. Most of the time, they're going to teach you how to push the buttons and do the SEO or run the paid ads or things like that. And then they're going to have a 30-minute conversation saying, you need a website, you need a Facebook page, you need a payment link, and you need a booking calendar. Oh, and make sure you're not breaking the law. Compliance is not an easy thing to understand, and we aren't lawyers. So all we're doing here is sharing what we have learned along the way. We will not be covering every law that governs us as marketers here. We're going to cover some of the main ones. But please remember, we're not lawyers. Do not take this as fact. Your best practice is to speak to a marketing communications lawyer, because the laws that I'm talking about right now might be very different in a week's time. I'm not a lawmaker. I'm not a politician. And the other part of that is that this varies state to state, especially inside the United States, let alone from country to country. So you need to be up to date on what's governing you and what's governing your business that you're marketing for.
And have it be in the country where you're reaching to. So if you're in Australia and you're reaching to the United States, goodness, that's a time zone difference, but it does happen. And you need to be aware when you're reaching to the United States what the different laws are that are coming into effect. So when you seek out your legal advice, and you should, as Sheena Lee is saying, then you definitely need to seek one out who is familiar with the country where you're aiming to. If you're in India reaching to the United States, yep, better have that in place. If you're in the United States reaching to Canada, you better know about Canadian law, or GDPR or anything else that applies. It's the same thing. Even if you're inside, reaching around, it's, and obviously when you're in country, that's a little easier because you have people that are familiar because they're right there. But take the extra time, go the extra mile. It will pay off for you.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is that most of this is easily accessible. All right. So the laws that are governing the United States, just Google TCPA and you're going to find their official website, and it'll have a bunch of stuff. They even have phone numbers that you can reach out to them if you want more information. It's not that hard to find out. And this might sound scary, but basically it boils down to be a good person, don't spam people. Respect people's wishes, respect people's boundaries, talk to people nicely and politely, and don't talk about things that you wouldn't talk to your grandma about. That's basically it. So,
we should go without saying, but we feel like still we have to say it. because it can be an issue, and I mean it's even Google is recognizing this with their. I'm sorry, it was I think I said EAT at some point. Experience or accountability or authenticity and trust. Yes. And there's another E in there too, but the trust is they're really trying to build that too from a technology standpoint as being huge. And so they'll begin to block you at every turn doing PPC and doing other things. And I'm sure, as much as they've been accused of not, Meta and Facebook have their own ways of doing that now, and they're being forced to comply, however begrudgingly.
And the laws are changing so quickly. And like just recently, I believe I'm correct on this. I haven't had a lot of time to research it, but I did hear from a reliable source that Google Business Profile regulations are changing. If you don't have a physical address and or you don't meet with your clients face to face, you can't have a Google Business Profile. Now, as I said, this is hearsay. Look into it yourself. But the laws are changing very quickly, mostly because, as a whole, marketers have been unscrupulous and they have to be reined in somehow, which is why this is happening.
Right. And yes, Google did send around something that I haven't dived into what the changes are necessarily. If you have a service area, I mean, it just underscores the fact that you really need a local address. Legitimate local address for things, but I haven't dove into what that's even a word. I haven't looked into what those changes are, but I did get emails from Google about it that says, hey, these changes are coming. Here's what we're doing. So I'll get into that some more and maybe post it in the notes later.
Yeah. All right. So this is a little bit boring, but it's all good stuff to know. So let's go quickly through a couple of them. Oh, that's not what I wanted.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. Technology is not my friend today. I pressed the next button and it went right to the very end. So.
Yeah.
Just doesn't want to love me today.
I understand. I have those days all the time.
All right. So as we just talked about, having integrity is very important. So there's something I believe is one of the federal laws in the United States, and it covers the truth in advertising. And this is a body of laws that govern honest marketing practices. Okay. Product endorsements. Requirements that endorsements must be truthful. And in the case of celebrity endorsements, that the celebrity has genuinely used the product or service.
Okay.
So this applies very strongly towards review management. There is also a style of marketing out there called influencer shout-outs, where an influencer is going to go up there and say, this is amazing, everybody buy it, here's a landing page, blah, blah, blah. Make sure that celebrity or influencer has actually use the product and is talking about the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm not saying that you can't do review swaps. It's very common practice. I'm suggesting that if you do choose to do a review swap, that you have actually spoken to that person. You have a gauge of what it is you're talking about. If somebody asks me to write a review about their agency, which I get quite frequently, I'm always going to get on a call with that person. And when I write the review, I'm not going to say, this person's amazing at paid ads when they've never run paid ads on behalf of my business. I, however, will say, I have spoken with, I met with this person in regard to paid ads, and their professionalism and honesty and grasp of the market was amazing. Anybody reading that review is going to think I actually use their service, but I'm not telling a lie. So basically, make sure that you're having integrity.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is not only a federal law, but like you see it on Amazon, if they have to have verified reviews now, or there's credibility involved with having that. You also see it there are several states in the United States, Texas being one of them, that has like truth in advertising types of laws now. Yeah. So it's just good practice all the way around to be upfront with the way that you represent something, and don't represent it if you didn't do it.
Absolutely.
If you have fake reviews on your page, if you absolutely must to have something there, try not to have them. But if you do, try to replace them with legitimate ones as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And get everything, everything. And video is even, they are things for video testimonials now that make it very, very easy. You could use a vouch or video ask.
Yeah.
And both of them that's doesn't get any more legit than that. But still.
Absolutely. Yep. And the other part about this is it's going to make people trust you more if we as a whole start being more honest.
Right.
I've spoken to people and I have shared honest reviews. Like, these are actual reviews of people that I know who have sat on a video and recorded something. I said, okay, did you find that person on Fiverr? Because it's so prevalent. It's so prevalent that most of us are faking our way into the industry. That makes it really hard for the rest of us who are being honest and have integrity. So I this is just an encouragement to make integrity a huge part of your branding as an agency, because one, business owners are going to love you, and two, other agency owners are going to want to network with you and send you referrals. Right. Advertising to children. This applies for any country around the world. You're going to find that there are laws in place about what you can say and what you can't say. All right.
That's right. It's even on YouTube. As far as posting videos, let alone advertising, the videos you can post are very, very strict, to the point of, even if I have a video about gardening, and I post it, and they will ask, is this for kids? I still have to say no, not because it's like porn or something, but because the stuff just doesn't apply to kids. Because otherwise, if it does, kids are the only ones who will see it. If you answer yes to that. So they're very, very, very segmented on how they deal with kids, and advertising is very much the same way.
Absolutely. And I appreciate it. I'm a mom myself, so I really appreciate how strict these laws are getting.
Right.
The other thing about YouTube is, if you're generating something that talks about or talks to children, you're not going to be able to download that either. All right. Which is great. We all want to be able to protect our children. It does mean that whenever I upload these videos to our YouTube channel, it takes 2-3 hours, because YouTube has to go through and check everything. But it's a good thing. So as a marketer,
you can deal with it.
Yeah. As a marketer, we know that there are a lot of businesses out there who sell things for children and adolescents. It's a huge market. It's a very impressionable market. So we just need to understand the rules around that when we're working on their behalf.
Absolutely.
All right. Made in the USA, made in New Zealand, made in Australia, wherever that is. There will be regulations determining the proportion of a product that must be manufactured inside of that country. All right. There will also, or may also be, depending on which country you're in, laws around where that label is located and how big it's allowed to be.
Right.
All right. Health claims. Rules regarding claimed effects of products such as weight loss drugs, anti-aging products, supplements, and others. This is a fun one to try and get around, especially if you work in wellness clinics, you work for coaches, you work for health and beauty spas. You can't go in there and say, this is going to help you smash that cellulite. It's never going to be approved. You can't do it. Instead, a suggestion for you guys, talk about, use reviews, honest reviews, and talk about the way it made somebody feel. All right. So if you can stick someone in front of a video that says, you know, it's changed my life. I feel so confident. I can now do this. I love the way my jeans fit. That's allowed. All right.
Because it's legitimate testimonial from a legitimate person. The chiropractor that I went to for a long time, that frankly I learned a lot about marketing from before I got into this. This was 10 years ago, maybe, 8 to 10 years ago. But some of the things he was doing were ahead of their time at the time. And this is one of them, is that pretty much good, bad, or indifferent, everybody got pulled in for a video testimonial. They would walk, they'd ask you to walk around the video camera, and at some point you were going to get asked as a patient because of the way his system worked. It was a longer term engagement. It wasn't just 2 weeks and 4 adjustments and you're done. It's like 6 months. And so it really did become a part of that. And that's a lot of the reason, because that is exactly what you're saying, it is the powerful testimonials, because otherwise they knew that any supplements, it was mostly vitamins and supplements and essential oils and that sort of thing. They knew they had to be very careful of. And even though they brought a lot of them around, they're very, quick to say, these are options. And they tried to make them, as natural and unmanufactured as possible. So you'd see videos while you're waiting about all these different superfoods that are actually, greens and fruit, fruits and vegetables and different things, and their properties that they have, because you can't dispute that, as opposed to something that is a manufactured supplement. So this is all the wellness folks know, this is a tough one, just because of that and the whole concept around legitimacy.
The great part about it, though, is it forces us to be creative, and the only way to be creative and get around this is to talk to pain points. And I've spoke about this before in many other things, but when it comes to health claims, the pain point is a little bit different, as in you're speaking to the goal, because you're putting whoever's reading or watching that ad in the driver's seat of success, and they're testing it out for themselves and they're imagining it. And that's how that pain point works. So although sometimes we can look at it and be like, oh, that's so frustrating, to be honest, this rule is going to be your best friend, because your best results are going to be from following this rule.
And in the end, particularly for the wellness industry as a whole, the results are the big selling point anyway. Because that's really what brings them out. So the more you can accentuate that, however you get there, is because sometimes the methods compared to the mainstream or just going and taking a pill, the methods seem unconventional, but the more you can sell them on the results and this is why you came in the first place, because nothing else worked, and all of a sudden this is working. That's more powerful than anything else, because you are starting with those pain points, but then you're also getting to the result, and it's that journey that makes all the difference in the world.
Yep, absolutely. All right, the next one is environmental impact. Regulations pertaining to claims related to a product's environmental impact or benefit, such as the required content of recycled material for a product to be labeled or recycled. You guys didn't understand that one. If you're trying to advertise on behalf of somebody who has an e-commerce store, you're going to want to look at many different things. And one of them is going to be whether or not they have that little recycle sign on the bottom of their product, or if they have it on the bottom of their packaging or anything else. Okay. As a marketer, even though you weren't involved in the decision to put that there, your business is promoting this product that may or may not be falsely labeled. So you need to be able to look at this, because you're as equally accountable, even if it never crossed your mind.
And let's be in your face real for a second on this.
Yep.
Regardless of where your stance is on the concept of climate change or climate impact, this is still an issue.
Yeah.
Particularly, I mean, it can, if there really are things out there that your client is trying to prove that, that their product or service solves or, represents as something as being a positive change toward that. I mean, that is one, something you can really accentuate, but two, you really have to make sure that everything is set up correctly, that you're not false advertising, that you're not making false claims around the environmental impact side of things, because it's starting to come back now to quite a few companies. Look at Honest Company. A few years ago, if you're familiar with that brand and all the trouble they went through for what they said was in their product versus what actually, some of their products versus what actually was. So this is a big hot button thing for people right now. So it's worth doing if it's done well, but be very careful.
Right, I am responding here to Vovo. I'm so sorry if I said your name wrong. Very, very common, will you find I say people's names wrong? So tell me how I'm supposed to have said it. Welcome. You say, hi, I told you I watch every single one of your lives. You definitely did. Let us know how your dental niche prospecting and everything is going. We want to know.
Yeah.
You guys are coming here for actionable tips. So let me know when you're putting it in action.
And thank you to everybody who's kind of coming back and sticking with us through all of these. I mean, this is, this is good information, but you guys are the ones that make this happen.
Yes.
You're coming back again and again and hopefully telling people and, that we are providing good value to you. That really helps us out a lot. So thank you very much on behalf of both of us for doing this.
Absolutely. The other thing, though, that we don't talk about very much, we're here to give you guys information you want. So we think of, okay, these are the things that students of the Atlas Agency Launch Lab, other agency owners have ever come to us with questions for. We're going to talk about it. There's something pressing going on inside of your agency or inside anything to do with agency life, write it inside the comment, because we go live twice a week. We'll be able to cover that topic for you, okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we want to know kind of what's out there and what's a big deal for people, more than just I have a quick problem I need to solve. If there's something that maybe, and it's okay, that's the cool thing about these communities like this, is that, and even the Agency Launch Lab, once you go through the courses, you get a whole community with it.
Yeah.
Even beforehand. And so you can, and I've done this, I'm sure you have too, Sheena Lee, several times, where you get to say, you know what, I'm really struggling with this problem. I don't know how to do this.
All the time.
Somebody else knows because they've done it, and it's a different perspective than you ever thought. So, please utilize that. And then if it's a bigger topic, tell us so we can talk about it.
Absolutely. All right. And if we don't know the answer, we're going to find out for you, because if we don't know the answer, we should probably know the answer.
That's true. Very true. Very true.
Next, we're going to talk about the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. This is a big one that most of us are now
right now. Yes, it is.
Because of the A2P certification that some of us love, some of us hate. So it's a federal law, or it's a significant federal law, actually, that governs the regulation of telephone solicitations with particular focus on digital marketing practices. Yes. This is not something new. It's been around since 1991. I'm going to let you guys know how old I am. That's the year I was born. So that's how old this law is. It's further complemented.
Goodness.
I think I make John feel old here.
I really feel old now. Goodness.
Oh. It's also further complemented
at that point.
Like they say age is wisdom. So
right. Way to recover. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So this law is not the only law that covers everything to do with texting and phone calls and things like that. There are a lot of subsequent legislation since I was born that has been enacted by the FCC, or the Federal Communications Commission. Thank you. And the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. And this has established a strong foundation for telemarketing regulations. There have been a lot of recent court decisions, including some of those from the Supreme Court. And it's really solidified the fact that this is one of the big laws that we need to watch out for as marketers.
And this is, of course, aimed a lot, and we'll talk some more about this in a minute, at telemarketing. But
Yeah.
it's a lot of this. I'm surprised how much of it did not run as much through the Federal Communications Commission. Yes, they're involved, but a
Yeah.
lot of it is through the Federal Trade Commission,
Yeah.
because it gets back to what we were talking before about, truth in advertising, about being who you say you are.
Yeah.
And as technology has very much progressed and outstripped some of the laws, with regard to caller IDs on phones and spoofing phone numbers and that sort of thing. And so these rules and laws are trying to catch up with this. But it really started with this, and then maybe 10 years later is when caller ID. I mean, caller ID was around, but it really came into being as more of a digital network came along about 10 years later, at least in the United States anyway. And so it's had to keep up.
Some of us sit here and we get stressed out about the fact that all these laws are in place. Well, I was 10 years old. We still had a phone that plugged into the wall. Only people that ever called us were people that already had our number and had a legitimate reason for calling us. Now my 10-year-old is walking around and goodness knows who's going to contact him. The world has changed. And a lot of the times we're going to complain about the government, we're going to complain about laws, but this is one of the times that those laws have done their absolute best to keep up with our world. And we should appreciate that and make the best of it.
And honestly, they still don't. They still don't keep up with it. There are people still reaching to our kids. My 14-year-old daughter gets occasionally text messages or calls of things that she, and there is nothing. Believe me, I'm a settings hawk. There is no settings with the phone, with the mobile carrier or anything else that changes that. So it's still struggling to keep up, but it's better than not having it at all.
Absolutely.
So,
and they're trying.
Somehow.
They're trying their best. And we're like little kids who rail against our parents. Here we are railing against the laws and regulations that govern what we do. But if we can shift our mindset to the fact that this is a huge part of our brand, that we are compliant, we have integrity, and we respect and try to complement everybody else's businesses by using these laws, it's going to change the way we see things. And instead of having so much frustration every single time we have to do A2P regulation and it got declined and we got to try it again, we're just going to sit there and be thankful for a minute that this is one time that we can't complain because these laws have been put in place for our own protection. And people are still getting around it. Okay. I get phone calls. This is a little thing. I get about 10 phone calls a day, including voicemail drops when my phone doesn't ring. People are saying that my Google business profile listing is not whatever.
Oh, I get those. Yeah. And no matter how many times you unsubscribe from it, I think it must be one company because they all sound very the same. And no matter how many times you unsubscribe from it, it keeps calling you because
I even waited around to actually physically talk to a person, and I said, "Look, you are talking to an agency owner right now. Like, I'm not falling for this. Take me off your list. I have real clients who need to ring me, and you guys keep filling up my voicemail box." So it didn't work.
I did the same thing. I mean, I had to send the poor lady that got it that was in country. I mean, she's like, oh, "Okay, I'm sorry. I'm still like, this has really happened. I think more often than not."
Yeah.
And the flip side of this I was thinking about though is, we're talking about being subject to comply with all these regulations, but there's another there is an upside to this, and that is if you do embrace these. And you really get good at making them compliant, then that is a service people need.
Oh, 100%.
That's a service that people will pay you to do A2P compliance for them. And we'll talk about A2P in a second. But to make sure that you are up on all these laws and that your go high level is set correctly. We'll talk about that too, as to what it can do. But there is, it's not a lot of money, but there's real money there. As a little service or value added as a part of your bigger service that you're
offering. And, it's not even just A2P. And as I said, we're not covering all the laws that cover you as a marketer today. We're covering some of the big ones, but we're not covering all of them. If you just know a small amount, like if you watch this video and you get a couple of the things that we've spoken about, the next time you prospect somebody and you position yourself as somebody who actually knows about this law, These business owners don't know about this law.
Yeah.
And you're going to
They
start.
don't want to deal with it, or they don't
Yeah.
want to deal with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you're going to start them thinking like, am I following these rules? Oh, how big was that fine if I don't follow these rules? How do I know my marketing team is following the rules? Because my marketing team hasn't spoken to me about it. Okay, I have to go with Sheena because she actually knows what she's doing. She's going to protect my business. So you can also use it that way.
Yeah. One of the things that we put, I was helping one of my clients, and they're a marketing agency as well. And so they're reaching out to their clients. But one of the things that we put in the material reaching out to these people that says, you know what, you're going to have to, we'll help you. We're going to help you with this side of it because this is what we do. And you're using our system. Some of these other systems you have out there that you're using, these other softwares, are they doing that for you?
Yeah.
Is that something that perhaps, we could handle for you and or at least get them to ask the question of, okay, these guys, like you're saying, these guys are handling this. Mm-hmm. How about, what's my other software vendor over here with my, payment processor doing?
Yeah.
What's the different ones that anybody that sends text messages for any other reason in this particular case, what are they doing?
Yeah. All right. So here's a couple of breakdown requirements for the TCPA. There are more, okay, but these are some of them. But basically, don't call people before 8 o'clock in the morning and after 9 o'clock at night. That was something my mom always told me when I was growing up. Well, guess what, guys? There's an actual law here in the United States. Don't do it. And make sure that it's within their local time zone. I'm going to put my hand up here, guys, let you know that I made this mistake maybe 2 or 3 days ago. I called somebody. I forgot to check, okay, where are they located? Because my CRM didn't let me know. I should have double checked the first 3 numbers to confirm whether they were in the UK. I called them at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Thankfully, they didn't answer the phone. I am hoping that their phone was on silent and I didn't wake them up. They did very politely let me know the next morning, 2 o'clock in the morning is not an appropriate time to be calling me. I am so grateful they didn't get to see how red my face went. Okay. We all slip up.
Right. We've all done it.
Your best, because I'm pretty sure that person's now not going to get a sales call with me because I called him and his family at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Maybe so. Maybe you'll, everybody if they see you're trying, you mess up, but you're still trying. If you're having problems, say with, again, we'll get to A2P compliance, or you do this one time, you call them, at a really inappropriate time.
Yeah.
Maybe you can work that around where you still get that shot, or that was a mess up and you apologize and you work it out. So
yeah. And if you're watching this video, I am so sorry. You're going to realize that I changed the country you live in because I really don't want to give away who you are, but I am very sorry. Right. The other thing is have an internal do not call list or a DNC list. Marketers must maintain an internal DNC list containing the contact information of consumers who have requested not to be contacted.
Yes.
How many of you do this, and how many backups do you have?
All
right.
I just did this for a client where they have an unsubscribed list, and we brought it in, and because we're moving from one to the other, from go high level, and so we had to go back through and make sure all this was enabled and make sure they weren't recontacted again.
Yeah.
So it was really important.
So as John just mentioned, Go High Level has that automatically built in.
Yes.
You may be using cold email software, which means people are going to say unsubscribe, and it may or may not get back to your Go High Level. You may be sending somebody a message on social media and they said, do not contact me again. All of those things should be added to your do not call list. And I'm not suggesting you're going to Go High Level and create an opportunity and then mark them as do not contact, although that's not a bad idea. I'm suggesting that you keep a separate list outside of Go High Level that has all of these people in it, because goodness, hope this never ever happens. If something was to happen and you were to lose your Go High Level account, you have now lost every single person that you are by law required to keep track of as a do not call.
That's right.
All right. Inside of Go High Level, there's smart list capabilities. You can make a thing and print it out or whatever it is you need to do. I use a Google Sheet tracker. That's how I keep track of mine. You should all have one. And if you have a VA, if you have somebody else doing prospecting for you, if you hire a marketing agency to do prospecting for you, make sure that you're supplying them with that list. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing, if you are marketing on behalf of another business, ask them if they have a list. You need to know.
Right. Exactly. I mean, an existing list of people, and everybody, constantly sync up and keep track of it. There are some cool tools we'll talk about at the end about where Go High Level can help you with that. But as you said, if you move software, if you get rid of Go High Level, if you do whatever, I mean, you need a place where that is kept up with, that's external to any software that you have.
Yeah.
Or that you have on behalf of your clients, or even that your clients have. So yeah, that's wonderful advice.
Yep. All right. Carrie says that her daughter is my age. Thank you. Say hi to your daughter for me. Probably might have been a mistake telling everyone how old I was. My son's going to tell you I'm old though. So
yeah, I'm
automatic. You talk. You go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. Next one is automatic telephone dialing systems. Auto-dialed marketing calls and texts to cell phones or devices where the recipient may be charged require prior express written consent. Non-marketing auto-dialed calls also require prior express consent. If you are working aside a marketing agency, I am sure that you will be contacted, if you haven't already, by somebody saying, hey, we have auto dialer capability. We rotate 5 different local numbers so that you always go through and it's never a spam and everything else. You need to be aware of this law when you're doing that and make sure that they're not cold calling people cell phones. You can call a business phone number this way. You cannot call a cell phone. All right. So it might feel like, yay, this is a great hack. It's not. It's really not.
Right. And this is made even harder now because most people, even some small businesses, don't use landline phones anymore.
Yep.
For some people in home service industries, their business is on their phone. There is no difference. It is on their phone. Everything is there.
Yep.
And there is no distinction made between that. I mean, it also begs the question, how do they get, not to be asked here necessarily, but just sort of rhetorical, how do they get consent for something like that? And the answer really is it's difficult unless you're specifically curating a list from people.
Absolutely. So unless you're running paid ads or anything else, an auto dialer should be out of the question. Carrie says her grandson tells her that she is old also. Oh, thank you. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, well,
10 years time, I'll be like, oh, okay, now I feel bad for John.
Well, my daughter tried calling me boomer one time. That's sort of the joke, except I'm not a baby boomer. I'm Generation X. Thank you very much.
Oh no.
Which I reminded her. She got really hung up on that too. Which generation are you? Are you Generation X? Are you millennial? Are you Gen Z? What are you? And I've lost count, honestly. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I'd have to sit there and Google it.
I don't understand.
Yeah. All right. So to avoid TCPA violations, marketers must adhere to various requirements outlined by law, including robocalls, calls made by using an artificial or pre-recorded voice for marketing purposes to a residential landline or wireless numbers are prohibited without prior express written consent. So all of you who have listened to my lives over the last month, all of you have access to my free prospecting training. This is one that you need to be aware of. I advocate for voicemail drop services, okay? I advocate that you allow the phone to ring a couple of times first, otherwise you're breaking the law. When you're doing that, make sure it's not going to somebody's cell phone, all right? And yes, there are ways around that. There are ways to do that, but you still need to make sure that it's going to a business phone number, not a residential landline. So avoid businesses like Mr. Joe Smith down the road who runs a lawn mowing business. He probably has a cell phone. Go after the bigger businesses that have been in business for a certain amount of time, have a certain amount of employees, things like that they're going to have a business phone number. Okay.
Right. And that doesn't seem to apply, and I have to research this a little bit on some of the nonprofit organizations.
Yeah.
We get calls. I get calls here in Texas. Maybe you do where you are, in up north, about it's the State Patrolmen's Union Association or something like that. It's supposed to be for police, so to get you on their side. And honestly, I don't know if it's a legitimate business or legitimate nonprofit organization or not, but they all, and certainly political campaign fundraisers are in that mix too, text messages and phone numbers. And I don't know where those land in all of these regulations in these situations, and it's still a bit of a tricky question. And all we can do otherwise is approach it from the business side and be as familiar from the business side as we can. But anybody who works with nonprofits really need to do some extra research.
Yeah, no, I agree. Carrie asks, does this apply to Twilio numbers and LC numbers when businesses have them forwarded to their cell phones? Very good question. From what I understand, after speaking with somebody who is well versed in this, it does not apply to that, because I'm actually calling the business phone, and it was the business's owner's choice to forward that to their cell phone. However, I did ask that question 6 months ago. A lot has changed since then, so you may want to check that yourself. And then she also says that those are not real. Okay, John, no donating to those fake nonprofits calling you.
No problem, but still, they're irritating. I mean, I opt out of that stuff every chance I get, and they still call.
Yeah.
But there is something that inside of actually most digital phone systems now, and including Go High Level, that you should set as a sort of a, not a safety net, but it's a little thing that helps go toward doing the right thing. And that is filling in, wherever the opportunity is, the actual business name that shows up on the caller ID. Yes. And make it match the actual business that's calling.
Yep.
So that way you cover some of your bases, that they can look and see, what this is, or if it's not very obvious what it is, try to sum it up in a way with a few, because sometimes you only get like 10 or 12 characters or 15 characters or something. Try to sum it up in a way that says what it is. If you're calling on behalf of a big landscaping company, you might put like landscape or something for the caller ID if their name doesn't really accurately say what they do, or you can't fit it in.
Yeah.
That way they can look at that. I mean, like I got a call today and it was a complete misdial. And even after I talked to them, they called again, but it said a doctor's name. And it actually was. It was a cardiologist calling. It was a wrong number to confirm the appointment. But I don't know how they ended up with this one, other than it was I got a number, it's through Go High Level, and they picked it out. Twilio picked it out of the queue. But
there's a HIPAA violation in itself, calling to let you know that this person has an appointment scheduled for this time. We're supposed to be
there were a couple of HIPAA violations on that phone call, because they did say the person's name. I just asked for the first name. I said, I just want the first name just to verify. I didn't want the rest of it. But this kid, it was. They said their full name and what the appointment was for, and I should have stopped him and said, you know what, you should not have told me that.
Yeah, well,
just so you know.
Yeah. So we're supposed to be covering HIPAA violation here. Right now it's 10 minutes to 7, and I'm taking much longer than I'm supposed to, and I have to be off by 7:30 because I have another meeting. But if we don't get to it,
go through the HIPAA piece of this, I think. So the other is very tricky, but it's worth researching, because a lot of laws have come out of the phone dialer thing since, that add to it and pile on top of it.
Yeah. All right. So in addition to the TCPA, there are numerous state-level telemarketing laws existing, with new ones emerging regularly, like John just said. Many of these state laws are modeled after the TCPA, and they make use of the National Do Not Call Registry, which I completely skipped over 1 second. So the National Do Not Call has... Oh, no, I get to it in a minute, so we're okay.
It should be there. You can go to, I think it's donotcall.gov, or you can search for it. And it should be it used to just be for landline phones. They have now extended it to mobile phones. Not recently. It's been a while. That they extended it to mobile phones, and so the way that's supposed to work is that you put your number on there. Now, what to be aware of, it is only for and it says on the website, once you sign yours up, it is only for a set amount of time. It is not forever. So at the end of say a year or wherever that is, I forget what the time frame is, you can appear on that number, and you have to go back and re-sign up for it if you don't want that. Now, again, don't know how the patrolman's organization or whatever that is gets around that. Who says they're doing it legit, or the Google My Business one we talked about before. But they should be honoring the laws. And some of these businesses that call you, even if you say I ask you to remove me, they may call you anyway, which speaks to what we were talking about in the beginning. They'll still call you. So, but that is that was, say, about 10 years ago, the big deal when it came out. And it's still here. It's still relevant. So, use it, or be expected that people that you or your customers call, or you call on their behalf, will use it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other part about this is that TCPA is not the only law you need to be aware of. There are telemarketing laws that are for your state, and in some cases for your county. All right. You need to make sure that you know the ones that you're operating out of as your business. You also need to make sure that, so I'm in upstate New York. If I am marketing for a business in New Mexico, I need to know the New Mexico state laws and potentially the laws that govern the reservations, because they are going to be different than state laws. So there's
Indian reservations, she means.
Yes, sorry, Indian reservations, yes. So you're going to find that there's a lot, but it doesn't take very long to find it. Do a very quick search. You're going to get a downloadable, quick download, and then off you go.
And there's resources in the U.S. like LegalZoom and some others that are very good for those sorts of things. The state that is being particularly strict these days, everybody, is California.
Oh yeah.
All of a sudden. I say all of a sudden. It's been probably building the last couple of years, but they seem to be more strict than most. For a long time, it was actually Texas and some others, but particularly in terms of dealing with truth and advertising type of things. But yeah, California is really taking that a whole step further. Yep.
So California has laws very similar to the GDPR, which we may or may not be able to cover tonight. And so, yes, if you're advertising for anybody in California, or you are inside of California, you need to be very, very careful. So we're going to very quickly go back to the Do Not Call registry that John was just talking to us about. It's a database maintained by the U.S. federal government. Okay,
it was the Federal Trade Commission, by the way.
Yes. It was established to comply with the Do Not Call Implementation Act of 2003, signed into law by President George W. Bush. The law aimed to enforce the Telephone Consumer Protection Act of 1991. So there
back to that again. It's building on itself, like we said.
Yeah. So telemarketers covered by the registry have a specific period. It was originally 90 days, but now it's 31 days, or at least last time I checked, it was 31 days, to stop calling a registered number. Okay. Initially, the phone numbers were listed for 5 years, but the Do Not Call Improvement Act of 2007 has now made them permanent. That one I didn't know until earlier on.
I didn't know that either, because I thought it was only in registering around 2012, 2013. It said they were temporary. So that'd be interesting to go back and back and look at that real quick.
Absolutely. So this is the information that I found today when I was doing a little bit of research on South African laws, actually. And it came up there, and because when you do a search and you're in the United States things are going to come up, and when you're specifically saying South Africa. And I found out about that and I shoved it in. I have not had a lot of time, so I have not run it past a lawyer or anything else. So please do your own research. Consumers can add their phone number to it. There was a rumor in 2005 that cell phone providers would share their directories with telemarketers, but the FTC clarified that it's illegal for telemarketers to call cell phones. Fax numbers are not required to be included in the registry. due to existing laws that prohibit unsolicited faxes. So most of us don't use faxes these days. But
they don't. But there was a time when actually you get a lot of junk faxes and people were complaining that they was chewing up their paper.
Yeah. So there are still businesses that do use faxes, especially businesses in the health sector, because of many different reasons. However, just remember, you can't send unsolicited faxes. All right, so we're going to very quickly talk about A2P messaging, or at least John's going to help us talk about that. It's also known as application to person messaging. Most of us now know about it because it's been big lately. It's the communication methods where businesses send text messages from software applications to consumers' mobile phones. It's a valuable tool in digital marketing when users opt in, okay? So for you to send a message anymore using a 9-digit number, I believe it is. Is it 10 digits?
10 digit number. Yeah, you have to
use a 10-digit number. They have to have opted in. So gone are the days, which I never thankfully did, but I'm sure that some of you have been around where this was happening. People were sending out mass texts to a whole bunch of different people, soliciting them, just like we kind of do with cold email. You're not allowed to do that anymore. They have to very clearly opt it in. Depending on where you are, it has to be more than just a check mark in the box as well. All right. So you need to find out what the laws are around them opting in.
Yeah, they have to clearly understand, I think, what they're agreeing to, and that there is a, potentially could be a cost to it. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that text message is unlimited now. But wasn't always, but it is now. But that's not everybody. Sometimes there are, so you still have to put in the concept that they can be, that you could be charged for the messages or the data usage.
Absolutely.
There's opt in and there's opt out, and both of them have to be in there.
Yep. So there's lots and lots of different things surrounding this. One thing we're going to cover it in more depth probably another night since we're running out of time.
Right.
One of the things I'm going to mention to you guys here is if you don't already have a privacy policy and or a terms of use policy, I suggest that you get ones in place, because a lot of these laws require you to be very, very explicit about many, many things. Okay. If you were to create a privacy policy, you were to put it on a page inside of your inside of your website, you can link it there. Okay. And it will help you an awful lot with not having to every single campaign go and put, how many more things I need to put in? It's already going to be there. You will have already done all the hard work. There are some that you still have to put in there, but a lot of it will already be covered.
And that's a newer one, particularly in the e-commerce space, but you should have it anyway, whether you're in e-commerce or not. The Google and Shopify and the Google particularly now is requiring it to sign up tracking. That you have these on your front page someplace. And there are services that can make them for you. I mean, you should review anything that they come up with and or run it past any legal advice that you have. But the concept of having this has really been a bigger deal, say, in the past 2 to 3 years, at least for me anyway. But it's there. It's now all but necessary that you have to have privacy policy and terms of service.
And it's becoming, it was always recommended, and most courses do not talk about this stuff. They were made 5 years ago, but they talk about the fact that, there are legal considerations. It needs to be spoken about more. We need to know about this more, because not only is there more laws that we need to know about, the penalties and the people enforcing those penalties is becoming more and more frequent. So another one that we don't cover here tonight, but I'm going to talk about very, very briefly. If you have a website, it needs to be ADA compliant here in the United States. All right. It needs to be able to be accessed by somebody who is blind and or somebody who is deaf. If it's not, you can be fined thousands up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the percentage of businesses that are being sued have risen by over 120% in just the last 12 months. Okay.
Right.
So these laws are being forced more and more rigorously, and there are more and more businesses being sued for it, not just enforced for it. Other people actually suing you for it because people know about it. People are smart. People love to make money. So they're going to literally sit there and they're going to search and they're going to find out what you're doing wrong and sue you.
And especially I mean, you know, you don't want to think about people just trolling out there to looking for somebody to sue. But like I said, you really see this in e-commerce and in places where specific services are provided. Yeah, the ADA compliance being sued for that is a new one on me, but I wouldn't put it past anybody.
Yeah.
But the other is, you know, suing you for not, you know, having a return policy. Yep. Or not having, you know, you provide lousy service and you don't have a terms of service stating, you know, what type of level of service you're going to provide, and then something happens and you don't jump right to for any number of reasons, and somebody will sue you on that. So it's not necessarily governments that are going. I mean, the governments are starting to go after people, but it's also individuals who were customers or bad customer relationships, and they'll use it against you.
Absolutely. So Carrie asks, how does this affect the missed call text back? It does not affect the missed call text back. That person, by act of contacting your business, has given consent. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. If they interact with your business, then in some way, anyway, that could be calling the business. That could be responding to Facebook ad. I mean, you still should have a little language wherever you can. But by the very act of communicating to your business somehow, they have consented to at least receive messages over the similar platform.
Yes, so they have consented to receive messages directly related to what they have reached out to you for. So there's a very big difference between a missed call text back and a marketing text. Okay? So if somebody was to call my business, I don't answer. They get a text message saying, "I'm really sorry. I'm in a meeting with clients right now. Here is my calendar link. Please book an appointment. I really want to talk to you." That is not me saying, "Hey, random business owner, I really want to talk to you and sell you all my cool stuff." Two very, very different things. So you're okay. Yeah.
Or I've even seen some more simplistic ones that just say, you know, "Hey, I'm sorry I missed you. I'm sorry we missed you here at our agency. How can we help?"
Exactly. Yep.
And just leave it open-ended.
Yeah.
You know, the calendar is smarter though, because then you channel them into someplace. But
sure, and it works really well with that voicemail prospecting I keep talking about. All right, Carrie says, "That's what I thought, but I have had multiple people ask me about this when trying to sell it." All right, yep. And I get asked about, I don't think we have time to cover it, so I'm going to bring it up. But a lot of things to do with emails as well. So knowing the ins and outs of these laws is going to be very, very helpful when trying to sell them.
Yeah, email's kind of a different animal. So yeah, we probably better save that for a separate time. But it's still a very important one that's starting to see a lot of regulation as well.
Yep. All right. So make sure that you obtain proper consent for marketing. All right. Consent should be explicit and it should be obtained through opt-in mechanisms. It doesn't say here, but you also need to have opt-out mechanisms. You need to comply with local regulations. So familiarize yourself with the specific regulation and laws related to it in the countries where you operate. Different regions may have varying requirements. Two of the ones that you guys should know about is the TCPA and the GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation in the European Union.
And elsewhere too, not just European Union, Canada as well, right?
Yep, it's expanding. So you need to be very careful and make sure you know what you're doing. Message content and format is a very, very important part of doing this, which a lot of us, thankfully, have now become aware of because of the A2P needing you to be very specific and only allowing certain things, all right? But basically, craft your messages in a clear, concise, and non-deceptive manner. Tell the truth. Provide relevant and valuable information to recipients. Don't waste their time.
Right.
Avoid using misleading or spam-like content. I wish that someone put a law in place for my DMs for this.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. That's a
Yeah.
whole
And
nother. They haven't crossed over into social media messaging yet, but I'm sure
I'm waiting.
it'll be coming. Yeah.
Ensure that the message format adheres to the guidelines set by the A2P messaging platform or service provider. This is a little bit different now because I've kind of all consolidated under the A2P laws and regulations right now,
Mm-hmm.
but every provider is going to have something slightly different.
Well, who came up with the A2P is the Consortium of Cell Phone Providers, and I think it's called TDR.
Yes.
In the United States, I've yet to look up what that stands for, even though I should. But basically, that's the consortium of all the cell phone providers who are trying desperately to avoid governmental regulation. And companies will do amazing things to avoid governmental regulation if there's even the threat of it. So they came together, and this is what they put in place as a unified standard instead of everybody having their own. Even though there's really only 3 major carriers in the U.S. that are maybe 3.5, but they came together and put this in place, and so it's unified. And it looks like they based a lot of it in their own way off of what's already in place for email. Because it's much of the same things. It's like we're saying, it's the opt-in, it's the opt-out.
But that's
and the honoring of that and the truth in what you're sending out there.
Yeah, that's the United States. If, like me, you run ads in multiple countries, I run ads in Canada, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and the United States, you need to be aware of the fact that some of those countries have specific laws depending on the phone carrier that you are contacting. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes over and above, say in Europe, the GDPR, the individual countries have some of their own regulations, do they not?
Yeah. So when you're running a mass campaign like that, that's covering a global span, I've had to go in and look at a whole bunch of different laws and then craft my copy very specifically and precisely to try and not break any of these 50, 60, 70 rules that I'm having to operate under. So this is all something that, as a marketer, you need to be aware of. But basically, it comes down to tell the truth, respect people's time, respect people with your words. Don't say anything you wouldn't say to your grandma.
Get to the point of whatever it is. Yeah. As well, and give them a chance to get out if they don't want to receive it, and actually honor that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to clearly identify yourself as a sender in A2P messages. Use a recognizable and trustworthy sender name and or brand that recipients can easily identify. All right. So make sure you sign your name down the bottom and tell them where you're coming from.
Yeah. Or if they don't know the brand, make it so they can know that they can click on something. Or they can go search it, and so if they're not familiar with whatever the name is with Atlas Agency Launch Lab, okay, well I can go search it and realize what that is because it's listed there.
It's on YouTube, it's on social media, it has a landing page. It's in a lot of different places. Somebody's going to find it if they search my name. If you're just starting out and you aren't anywhere, then you may want to very clearly put in at least that first message, this is Sheena from brand new agency. You will find me if you search this name in this location. So you'll find it if you search this on Instagram. Okay.
Or set up even a 1-page something or other somewhere. It doesn't take very much, and just even if it's minor, that this is who I am, this is what I sell, this is how to get a hold of me.
Yep, absolutely. All right, an opt-out mechanism is what John keeps reminding us because we do forget it. All right, make sure that there's always an opt-out mechanism inside that's user-friendly and it allows your recipients to unsubscribe or stop receiving further messages and then honor those opt-out requests.
And the faster you honor it, I mean, yes, you had something earlier where it would, it's 30 days and I've gotten that spiel when I've asked to opt out of things.
Yeah.
But the general expectation should be within the day.
Yep, absolutely.
Should be within the day to get cleared out of there. None of this BS. I'm going to send you another 15 days. It may take a while. No, just shut it off. Put your mechanism in place for you or your clients to shut it off right then.
And absolutely, like if somebody says stop texting me, and you keep texting them, what are you going to gain from that? You're just going to piss them off. And when people are upset, they talk about it. They're going to go and tell a whole bunch of people about it. And then they aren't going to ever be able to become your clients because you have bothered this one person. Go high level very, very easily. You can set it to stop on response. All right. It recognizes when somebody says stop and automatically adds a do not contact part. It's not hard to do. Just do it.
Absolutely. It'll help you out to do that. I mean, it's just good practice. Plus what they'll do is, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, is they'll go leave you a bad review, and that bad review has a cost to it. That costs you business. It costs you 20% of your audience. So don't do it.
All right. The other one that can be very tricky is message volume and frequency. All right. I struggle with this one all the time. I know that when somebody opts in to sign up for an appointment, I have to send them a thank you via text message and email. I need to send them reminders a couple of days beforehand, a reminder the day of, a reminder an hour before, a reminder 5 minutes before. You have to do certain things to increase your show up rate. Okay. You also have to do things to nurture those leads that have booked the appointment by adding value to their life before they get there. So you're keeping that pain point right in front of their mind. So when they turn up to that appointment, they're in the right place of mind that you can close them. Don't.
Absolutely. I'm just saying, go ahead. That does not mean every hour or only hour. And actually a good trick I've seen people do, and it sounds like it's bad, it's actually a good trick, is to send somebody over email and or text a thank you confirmation. And in that confirmation, once they first sign up for something, then you're asking them at that point, if you want to continue receiving, and you're giving them the option right there. So we're going to send you a couple of these before your appointment. If you don't want that, unsubscribe or whatever. But you give them that option right there in the thank you. That's your introduction to them.
Absolutely. And another way to do this is inside a Go High Level, you can set it so that people can only enter a workflow once. All right. You're going to find the amazing amount of people who click on an ad, sign up for a membership, do this, do that, who enter workflows multiple times. Okay. And therefore, instead of sending the 5, 6, 7, 8 point chain that you plan on sending, it's like 30, 40, 50, and that's not good. All right. There are easy tricks to prevent that from happening. So just make sure you do them.
For sure.
All right. Security measures. We're not going to get to it tonight, but implement appropriate security measures to protect user data and prevent unauthorized access. Ensure that you have those measures in place to secure the transmissions and storage of A2P message data. Don't give everybody underneath the sun access to your CRM so they can see everybody's messages and find out all their contact information. Don't sell your lists. Just be respectful.
And that then heads toward HIPAA compliance and just general good practices anyway. Whether you use HIPAA compliance or not. I mean, you're talking about the selling of the databases and that sort of thing. Real quickly, maybe let's talk about where people can find all this in the Atlas Agency Launch Lab. Well,
yes. So
inside all this we're talking about the in the evening, how this isn't covered by other people, but it is covered here. Is that right?
Yes. So most agency owners don't learn this stuff, and once they start practicing, all of a sudden it rains down on them and they have a little worry because nobody ever told me this and I didn't even know. Inside the Atlas Agency Launch Lab, one part of forming your foundation is making sure that you're compliant. So we teach you to the best of our knowledge how to stay compliant. We tell you how to find free resources to make sure that you're compliant. We provide you with templates that you can use for those privacy policies, terms of use, all of those things. We give you everything that you could possibly need to do your best at staying compliant. And we also talk about it when it comes to branding. We also talk about it when it comes to sales. We talk about it when it comes to creating a lead offer. We talk about it when it comes to creating reviews, testimonials, lead magnets. We talk about it all the time. And
so
that's
you got it in one main module, but it's also kind of sprinkled throughout, right?
Yep. So you've got it in module 6, which some people love and some people hate because it covers your social media posting, it covers compliance, and it covers tax preparation. All right. Very, very important things to know as a business owner, as an agency head that's about to scale and just blow up. However, we also talk about it everywhere else because, as we said right at the very, very beginning of this video, if you are compliant, if you have integrity, if you are presenting yourself as an expert in all things marketing, you're not only going to attract clients, you're going to attract quality clients, you're going to attract high-paying clients, and those clients are going to stick around. Sticky clients is what scale agencies, right? So we do talk about it. If you guys want to know about the Atlas Agency Launch Lab, we have 3 tiers. We have done for you, done with you, do it yourself. Outside of that, we have standalone modules. We have standalone training on sales. We have standalone training on the audit asset and so much more. On Sunday night, I will be going live inside the Atlas Agency Launch Lab group itself, talking about the audit, which is one of the biggest, most effective prospecting tools that you are going to ever find. It's also one of the best skills you can use to prepare for sales. So I suggest that you join us there on Sunday night. And John, I think you're muted, honey. I can't unmute you. Technology is not our friend tonight, guys. Right? So we will be there on Sunday night. If you guys want to...
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay, I had an issue on my end. Sorry about that. And my video
okay.
probably went crazy too. But yeah, the audit is just one of those things that, I mean, if you spend a little time, invest a little time putting one together and make it sort of fit what you do and what you provide, it's such a great entree to new prospects and getting people in, because then you really get to show your strengths and speak to your strengths and highlight the problems that you can solve. Yeah. So very, very cool thing on Sunday. And then I think we're going to be back here in the next night after that. Is that right?
Monday night. Yep.
Monday night.
And before then, guys, if you guys are actually interested in joining the Atlas Agency Launch Lab group, which is a network, all right, this is not just a course with thousands and thousands of students coming in and we're churning and churning them. There is a very small amount of people that we take in every single month. All right. We work together with you guys kind of as your business developer inside of your agency. We lend you our network, we lend you our team, and then you become part of our network as well. This is going to be a forever relationship. You guys want to find out more? You guys want to find out if you guys want to do it? Book a call with me, book a call with John. We'll talk about your agency. We'll give you some free advice. We'll answer some questions, and we'll tell you whether or not the Launch Lab is a good fit for you.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, guys, that's us for now. We'll see you guys back on Monday night. And if you want to see us on Sunday, go and join the Atlas Agency Launch Lab group.
Bye. Woohoo. See you later. Bye.
All right, we're no longer live. This information's taking a lot longer than I expected it to.
It's a lot. I mean, just reading through it, it's a lot of material.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we can hit next time, or whenever you decide to bring it up again, if you want to take a pause from Monday and do it on, I mean, I wouldn't go any more than a week and a half, but then do HIPAA and GDPR by themselves, because and then we can wrap it up with some of the tools, because it all sort of plays back to each, to some of the same stuff.